Part 7. I'm Really Immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Ru Siahua. Chapter 61. Some people swim from here to there, and some people swim from there to here. It is hard to imagine that in 1979, the 10th year when Taiwan's economy began to take off, when Taiwan's per capita GDP was nearly $2,000, someone swam from the Silver Gate holding a basketball. This person said, "As a Taiwanese, I deeply love this place where I was born and raised, and I am willing to devote my whole life to its prosperity and happiness. However, as a Chinese, I feel that in addition to being a Taiwanese island for Taiwanese people, Taiwan should also can make a greater contribution to the history of the country. Our generation of aspiring young people have no choice. From now on, the mainland will take off. I firmly believe this. When I stood by the river, listening to the sound of the rushing water, it makes me feel that if a man cannot contribute his own efforts to the happiness of future generations for thousands of years like Li Bing and his son, he will really be ashamed of this life." There are always some people who can see the situation decades later in situations that others find unbelievable, and make decisions that are unbelievable to everyone at the moment. It is even more incredible that Lu Chang'an wants to swim from Anton to Taiwan Island, because someone has done experiments before. Several people swam in relays, and a cruise ship followed to protect and replace the swimmers. It also took several days and nights to swim across the strait. But Lu Chang'an is a different kind of human being after all. Normally, going to Taiwan is a bit cumbersome and wastes time. Su Mei and Ye Sijin are about the same age, and both are older than Qin Peng. Each day they live is one less day, and they may leave on that day. Crossing the strait is actually very common. If you are not in a hurry, you can carry a big log to the beach, dig a hole in the middle and sit in it. The log will float with the ocean current. As long as you adjust the direction in time, you can go travel from any coast in the world, through the Alaska Strait, around the Arctic Ocean, and then drift to the southern hemisphere under the aurora to see the penguins on the ice cap. Of course, this is not an enjoyable process. Most of the time, migrating on the mainland is a more beautiful journey. Climbing over mountains and flowing through water, the scenery you see is different everywhere. Turning around at an angle may turn out to be a beautiful scenery. Beautiful, a kind of deep peachland, or the stone axe hunting bow of a primitive tribe. There are also many delicious foods, especially some fruits or other poisons that can poison ordinary people. They are really delicious. After all, long distances in the sea are a bit boring, although occasionally you can learn about marine life in all aspects, from playing to tasting. At dawn, Lu Chang'an had arrived at the coast of Zhezhou. Zhezhou was only a few dozen kilometers away from the administrative center of Taiwan, which was Lu Chang'an's destination this time. He came to the shore and found a private place to change into dry clothes. Taking out the screen of his mobile phone as a mirror, Lu Chang'an looked at himself, twitched his eyebrows, pinched his nose, patted his cheeks, and adjusted his appearance. After resting for a while, Lu Chang'an found Zhezhou high-speed railway station and bought a high-speed rail ticket to enter the station. High-speed rail stations in Taiwan do not require identification and there are no security checks. The platforms are more like subway stations in the mainland 10 years ago without protective fences. Generally, there are only two platforms, corresponding to southbound and northbound. Individual Taiwanese people look no different from mainlanders, but when a group of Taiwanese people gather in a carriage, they feel that there are still some differences in their words, deeds, and mental appearance. This time is the peak period for commuters. The monthly ticket from Zhezhou to Taiwan City is only a few thousand local currency, which is not too difficult for white-collar workers with a relatively generous salary to afford. Of course, newcomers with a salary of 22K don't have such luxury. Lu Chang'an got off the bus in Taishi and looked at the city like all tourists who have just arrived. Along the way, there were no sidewalks on the roads in most blocks. Many shops opened directly onto the motorway, and the street greening was average. But when he came, the purpose here is not for sightseeing. Conveniently, there are no large-scale commercial communities common in the mainland in urban areas of Taiwan. There are self-service banks, nurseries, post offices, supermarkets, ticket vending machines and express lockers with basic facilities here. It's called a mansion. Without these residential areas that often require detours on the map, Lu Chang'an travels through the city much faster. Taiwan City has its own advantages and prosperous places, but if you really take a look at the entire city, most of its areas look more like the old county towns east of the Taihang Mountains to the Wuling Mountains and Nanling Mountains in the mainland. The infrastructure of the new county towns there is no need to compare, because the new urban planning and design concepts have progressed so much that there is a gap of several eras. When you come to a new city, you should always walk around, leave some impressions, and have a lot of emotions. Life always needs moments of pretentiousness or humming, otherwise you will be too indifferent and forget that you are a member of this world. One member. Or you have to let yourself play a member of this world. The Zhu family has long since blossomed. In addition to the direct and collateral descendants who are closely related by blood, there are also many outsiders with the surname Zhu scattered throughout Taiwan. The Zhu family has their own mansion, but Su Mei may not be in the mansion. She should rarely appear in the public eye, otherwise the gossip on the internet would not have any information about her. Lu Chang'an turned on his mobile phone. His phone card did not have international roaming enabled, so he could not connect to the internet here. His entry was not through normal channels. Naturally, he could not apply for an official free Wi-Fi account, so he had to go to 711 to eat and surf the internet. Lu Chang'an originally planned to look for it by himself, but after thinking about it, he decided not to download the internet phone. He tried looking for Qin Yinan's WeChat account in WeChat and added him as a friend. I'm in Taiwan now, and I want to see Su Mei. What? Are you in Taiwan City now? Qin Yinan was having lunch with Lu Chang'an at noon yesterday. Although the transportation is now developed, it still feels a bit surprising. Yes, Lu Chang'an raised his hand and took a photo of building 010 and sent it to Qin Yinan. This is the tallest building in Taiwan and a landmark building. It can be seen in many places when the weather is good. It's hard to see MRS Su. Except for Zhu Huntang and MRS Zhu San, it's not easy for the rest of the Zhu family to see her. Qin Yinan replied with some embarrassment. I just need to know where she is. Then you have to tell me why you want to see her first. Because I was someone she would want to see her again before she died. Then why don't you come and meet my great-grandfather first? Qin Yinan asked puzzledly. Don't argue with me. Qin Yinan held her chest and breathed calmly. This little cousin was really irritating, and she really wanted to torment him, but Qin Yinan didn't have that kind of temper, not to mention that her great-grandfather's instructions were still fresh in her ears. Qin Yinan sent the address to Lu Chang'an. I'm not entirely sure about this address. When Zhu Huntang returned to Junxia, she said she was here. Normally she stays with the old lady when she returns to Taiwan City. Zhu Huntang just returned to Junxia yesterday. So the old lady is probably still here. If not, you can contact me again and I will ask Zhu Huntang. Thank you, Miss Zionan. What? Qin Yinan was surprised by his title. Your great-grandmother was often called Miss Xiao when she was little. Then I should be Miss Xiao Qin too. Obviously Miss Zionan is cuter. Shouldn't the title be based on cuteness? Is it related to the last name? Qin Yinan felt that Lu Chang'an's thinking was simply incomprehensible, but he finally knew how to compliment people. It was a huge improvement compared to what he said before. You are not young anymore and you can't call her sister, you should call her aunt. No, this is not a compliment, he just gives people nicknames based on his own preferences, right? The name is cute, but he didn't call her cute. Lu Chang'an drank the orange juice, memorized the map, and rushed to the address Qin Yinan said. Unexpectedly, Sumei's residence is now near Tulin Mansion. It seems that her physical condition is not bad, otherwise an old man of this age would, if medical coverage for emergencies can be guaranteed, most would prefer to live in a place far away from the bustling city. The air and light noise in the city can easily affect their weakened body and spirit. I can't understand that some students say that Lu Chang'an is hinting to Qinyanan that he is an elder. You think he is hinting from God's perspective, but how can Qinyanan have the same perspective as you? Lu Chang'an talks casually to everyone. No one believes him when he tells the truth, and he even hints. Only after Qinyanan knew the truth, would Qinyanan feel that some of the words Lu Chang'an had said to her before were hints that she could not understand. Now Qinyanan was not being hinted, she was ignoring it with a normal person's thinking, instead of thinking, oh, Lu Chang'an said he likes my great-grandmother, is he over 100 years old? Are you crazy? I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 62. The environment near Tulin official residence is good. It is close to the city center and is quite good for enjoying the convenience and various guarantees of modern life. Sumei's residence is located in a lush forest and adopts a layout similar to that of the prefect's residence. It is surrounded by blocked by extremely tall trees, there is a maze-like spiral driveway inside. Sumei's residence is hidden deep inside one of them. Not to mention tabloid reporters and outsiders, even the Zhu family would have no way of knowing about Sumei without informing them in advance. Where? Lu Chang'an was walking on the roadside and saw a motorcade parked deep in the garden street with few pedestrians. A black Toyota was parked not far from the side of the motorcade. Taiwanese official vehicles prefer Japanese models. A man got out of the car. A middle-aged man of medium build, wearing a suit and smiling elegantly. The window of a black Rolls-Royce at the rear of the convoy opened, and a stunningly beautiful young woman turned her head to talk to the middle-aged man. Her expression was cold, with a hint of obvious contempt at the corner of her mouth, and she had no intention of getting out of the car. After a few words, the car window was closed. The motorcade set off, and the middle-aged man still stood there watching the motorcade leave before getting into the car. The Toyota turned around and drove into the driveway in the lush forest. Only Sumei lives in the dense forest. Lu Chang'an ran like a strong wind. After catching up with the Toyota, Lu Chang'an opened the door and picked up a hard-shell magazine in the compartment. "Who are you?" The middle-aged man was startled, and the driver in front of him hurriedly stopped. Lu Chang'an quickly tore off the outer cover of the magazine, rolled it up and used it to form an extremely sharp weapon, which he pressed against the middle-aged man's neck. "You threaten me with a piece of paper," the middle-aged man calmed down and said with a sneer. "Keep driving," Lu Chang'an said to the driver. "Don't listen to him." The driver chose to continue driving. He saw Lu Chang'an running in the rear-view mirror. The speed was so terrifying that he didn't even react. He opened the door forcefully, and the method of stabbing with rolled paper was more professional. "The killer, I just don't know why he is so blatant. The paper is very hard. With just a moment of force, it can easily pierce your neck arteries and you will die," Lu Chang'an explained. "Can you please stop struggling? I've obviously already twisted your neck." The middle-aged man couldn't move at all. He just wanted to struggle. He was horrified. Which political enemy sent this killer? "What do you want to do?" the middle-aged man asked after calming down. "Sumei and I are old acquaintances. I want to meet her and ask her something." "Young man, we have no idea who the Sumei you are talking about is, there is no such person here," the driver said calmly. "Then meet the person you want to meet." Lu Chang'an glanced at the driver. "Keep your hands on the steering wheel and don't make any small movements. Everyone will cooperate well and stay safe." "Thank you." The driver gave up the idea just now. This young man's outburst was too terrifying, but he was also extremely calm and indifferent. This kind of momentum made people think of no way to fight back. The technique of being able to instantly tear paper and roll it into a sharp weapon makes people timid at first. The most important thing is that this young man did not cover his face and left his fingerprints generously. What the driver was most worried about was that he had already made a plan to go back and forth. Under the calm face of this kind of person is a desperate heart. "Don't worry, I won't hurt Mrs. Suo." Lu Chang'an looked out the car window at the house gradually revealed among the trees, and wanted to recite a poem. "I want to lament the years, lament the long separation, lament the aging beauty, lament the loss of love and resentment." Just chant. Gulls, herons and mandarin ducks form a pond, but the wings are not suitable for them. If Dongjun is not primarily concerned with flowers, how can he be like growing without branches? What comes to mind is Zhu Shahan's song Sorrow. Two people who are not suitable for each other are together, and later find out that they should stop life and trim branches, so why force themselves to make a pond with gulls, herons and mandarin ducks in the first place? It's just that women always like to wishfully hope that the other person can give them love at the beginning. Who knows that before Zhu Shahan wrote Sorrow, she also wrote to this man, "There is no way to send my longing for you, so draw a circle instead outside the circle, my heart is inside the circle. The single circle is me, the double circle is you. You have me in your heart, and I have you in my heart. The moon will be full when it is missing, and it will be missing when it is circled. The full circle is reunion, half a circle is parting. I circle the circle closely, and you must know my intention secretly. There are also countless love sicknesses, and I circle them all the way to the end. You, who are you?" The middle-aged man had been looking at the calm-looking Lu Chang'an, and suddenly felt that his appearance seemed similar to him, as if he had seen him somewhere before. The tenderness in Zhu Shahan's love words still remained on Lu Chang'an's fingertips. Without answering the question, he gently knocked the middle-aged man and the driver unconscious, got out of the car and looked at the house in front of him. I don't know if the surveillance around the house noticed an abnormality or the driver issued a warning at some point. More than 20 men in black had gathered outside the house, looking wary and pointing at Lu Chang'an with guns in hand. Lu Chang'an put down the plastic bag in his hand, which contained his wet clothes. "Who? Stop. Squat down immediately with your hands on your head. If you take another step forward, shoot and kill." Lu Chang'an raised his head and felt the wind stagnant on his cheeks. The shouts in front of him stopped abruptly. Some were surprised, some were angry, and most of them showed the indifference of obedience and waiting. All kinds of expressions were like wax statues that remained at the moment when they were poured and cast. The mouth is dark and exudes a faint smell of gunpowder smoke. The men have strong hearts underneath their strong muscles. The summer manner in early June is mixed with the fragrance of flowers and a crisis that can tear the tranquility into pieces. Lu Chang'an feels Beilong's center jump. The recast body becomes more useful. Lu Chang'an turned around and picked up his plastic bag, walked between the fallen men in black, and reached out to push open the door of the house. In the distance, the lush forest stands leisurely like the high walls of the ancient city. The central mansion is full of the elegance and romance that the young ladies loved most during the Republic of China. It is as if Miss Su's villa has traveled through time and space and moved from the distant beginning of the last century. When I arrived in Taiwan, the gardens around me were filled with bright purples and reds. They didn't have the colors that old people often love, but they were full of girlish pink colors. In a wheelchair next to the fountain, an old woman put on reading glasses. All her emotions and expressions seemed to have been frozen by the passing time on her body. Only her cloudy pupils were left, looking at the person 100 years ago. The man walked in front of her step by step, stepping on her aging heartbeat. Lu Chang'an held her old and wrinkled hand, which had a cool softness. Without the woman's ice, muscle, and bones, only the original touch of skin and flesh remained. Long time no see. Lu Chang'an's eyes were gentle, he gently stroked her cheek and kissed her forehead. Beauty ages easily. Since ancient times, men have always failed women more. Lu Chang'an had never failed Sumei, at least that's what he thought, but there were some things she did that he couldn't accept, so he couldn't give her what she expected. But he still remembered Sumei's obsession at that time. The smoke stirs up the dew, leaving me here for a moment. Hand in hand with Uhua Lake on the road, a sudden drizzle of yellow plum blossoms. Jiao Qi is not afraid of people guessing, she sleeps in people's arms with her clothes on. It's the most important time to separate and take care of each other. When I return, I lazily sit by the dressing table. She used to be like this, so cute. The old man closed his eyes, tears streaming down his face, and held his young hand tightly. Please give me a vote. If you think it looks good, remember to add it to your bookshelf. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 63. It is always easy to think of Zhu Shahen's poems, probably because Sumei is very similar to Zhu Shahen in some places. Zhu Shahen married an official who was good at maneuvering but did not understand the charm. Throughout the ages, most talented people were romantic and sentimental. For women, it is inevitable to feel helpless and heartache, but there is nothing they can do about it. How many people dare to learn the secrets of fish? What's more, after Yu Xian came to the Taoist temple, he had to suffer half his life with nowhere to explain. However, some talented women, not to mention a talented woman like Zhu Shahen, will inevitably have some expectations for their husbands. If they do not seek to be better at poetry, at least they should not let her lament that gulls, herons and mandarin ducks make a pond, for her husband definitely dissatisfied. Is Sumei satisfied with her marriage? Lu Chang'an had no way of knowing. He only remembered that the young master of the Zhu family was dull and shy by nature, and was good at Western science and engineering, while Sumei loved business more. He still remembered that a gift she gave him turned out to be her favorite one. Normal-sized gold abacus. The Zhu family's current situation is probably inseparable from Sumei's painstaking efforts. The decision to come to Taiwan was also the traditional habit of aristocratic families to spread their branches and develop on multiple fronts. Some people lamented that there is no longer a wealthy family in China. Being regarded as landlords and banished to the mortal world, in fact, as long as you search for information, you will know that there have been more and more people since the late Song dynasty, including the late Ming dynasty, the late Qing dynasty and the Republic of China. Many aristocratic families kept some in the country and some went overseas. In short, no matter what the domestic situation is, they will always leave a legacy to pass on. The simplest thing is to look up the whereabouts of the eldest ladies of the Republic of China. If there is no more in the country, then there will be no more. Why do we need these? China does not need nobility, and the Chinese have their own nobility. Master Ye, I am Xiaoqui. The old man patted Lu Chang'an's hand hard, tears streaming down his face, and he felt so sad. Lu Chang'an felt that his palms were a little stiff, and beauty aged easily. How many traces of the unrivaled elegance in his memory could still remain on the face of an old man who was over 100 years old? Xiaoqui. Sumei has never been called Xiaoqui. This name is usually only used by daughters or servants from small families. Where can I find Miss Su named Xiaoqui? He found the wrong person, and actually recognized the wrong person, thinking that he had crossed the mountains and the sea to see her as the beauty of the past. Master Ye, I am Miss Su Xiaoqui, your maid. The old man held Lu Chang'an's hand and stood up. Lu Chang'an gave her a hand and felt that her body was in good shape and she could move around easily. Mrs. Su is not Sumei, but Su Xiaoqui, Sumei's personal maid. It turns out it's you, I thought it was Sumei. Others also said that the old lady of the Su family was Sumei. Lu Chang'an was still a little happy. After all, It was old friends meeting each other again after a long separation. Mrs. stared at Lu Chang'an blankly, her cloudy eyes full of unexpected disbelief. She stretched out her hand to touch Lu Chang'an's cheek, her fingers trembled, her lips trembled a few times, but in the end she just opened her mouth. Relief, emotion, remembrance, and awe. After so many years of pampering, even if she hadn't aged, I'm afraid there would be no trace of the little maid in her anymore. Lu Chang'an tried hard to recall what she looked like back then, and felt a little embarrassed, but finally he slowly remembered it, and showed more joy at seeing her again after a long absence. Almost every time I see Sume, she always has such an obedient, sweet, and frail little maid beside her. How could a young lady be willing to marry Lao Zu? Mrs. took Lu Chang'an's arm and said, "Master Ye, come with me for a walk, let's talk about what happened back then." Good. Saying this, Mrs. remained silent. She walked a short distance, sat on a bench and rested for a while, then called an old servant with silver hair. "Go ahead, no one is allowed to tell anyone what happened today." "Yes, ma'am." Mrs.'s indifferent tone has the majesty of her ancestors. She is still in this state even though she is 100 years old. The people below can only become more and more awed. No wonder it is still Mrs. who speaks out about the Zhu family. After giving instructions, Mrs. continued to hold Lu Chang'an's arm and move forward. "A lot of things happened that year, you don't even know, right? Some things happened at that time, so I left temporarily. When I came back, things changed. After you left, the Zhu family came to propose marriage. Although Miss and Lao Zhu were good friends, neither party was willing to talk about marriage. It was just that Lao Zhu was forced to come to Su's house to play from time to time. After going back and forth, Lao Zhu and I fell in love." Have. At this point, Mrs. chuckled twice. When she mentioned things from her youth, she was not as shy as a woman. After all, she had already reached the age where she was just waiting for things to happen, so she didn't care about the love between her children. Sume passed away, and the Su family secretly did not announce the funeral. "You took Sume's place and married into the Zhu family." Lu Chang'an understood a little better. "Yes, Miss left the accounts and asked me to continue to take care of it for you, and the Zhu family became what it is today." Madame Su pointed out her hand, looked around and sighed, "Miss is right, you will one day will come back to find her." "I can't find her." Mrs. rubbed her hands and covered her face. "What is Master Ye's status now?" "According to the lady's instructions, the Zhu family's share is left to the Zhu family, and your share must be returned to you." "No, just think of it as the dowry prepared for your lady." "Young Master Ye would indeed say that." "The young lady guessed your thoughts in the same way back then." Mrs. laughed, "She still understands you best." "If she really understood me, how could she drug me?" There was no anger in Lu Chang'an's words, but real helplessness. "Time is irreversible, the beauty will disappear, the past has become empty, and things like emotions have naturally become thin threads. The gentle breeze can't blow away a pool of water. Then, even if it's a misunderstanding." Mrs. muttered, but she couldn't explain clearly. "Forget it." Lu Chang'an didn't care anymore. "There is one more thing." "Thank you, Master Ye." Back then, the lady took your essence, but she fed it to me. She said that she would have many opportunities in the future, but she didn't know that you never came back, leaving me to survive until now." Lu Chang'an opened his mouth, not knowing what to say. Sume was really willful, why would she use such means? He originally planned to use other methods to extend her life, but she didn't know why she came up with such a ridiculous method. What's more, her method has a very low success rate, but Suzyaqui is lucky enough to have it take effect immediately. She fed you, probably with the intention of experimenting on you. Lu Chang'an still knew Sume very well. "It's not important. I feel grateful when I receive favors from others. If you think she deserves it because she has these thoughts, that would be too ungrateful. Mrs. shook her head. In fact, she was still a little aggrieved back then. But I didn't dare to disobey the young lady's instructions, so I had to eat the strange things. That's what you said. Where have you been these years? Always inland. Lu Chang'an and Mrs. chatted for a while until the maid came to remind her to rest. Lu Chang'an accompanied her to the room to rest. They had a meal together at noon. Although she didn't eat much, she seemed to have a good appetite. They chatted again in the afternoon. After looking at the people and events of that year for a while, Lu Chang'an left. "Old madam, it's time for you to take a lunch break." After Lu Chang'an left, Mrs. sat at the door of the house and watched his figure disappear into the woods. He refused her request to send him a car. "This is probably the last time we see each other in this life, 100 years later. Bring the phone here." Mrs. took the phone and dialed a number. When the call was connected, Mrs. showed a comforting smile and said, "Miss." In addition, the author's basic skill is to justify his explanation. If you have any questions, please be patient. Some readers don't like this book, so try to pay attention to the wording and tone when commenting. It doesn't matter if Xiahua is thick-skinned, but it can easily arouse other readers' resentment. After all, many people don't like their favorite things to be criticized by others, so everyone understands each other. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Can Ru Xiahua. Chapter 64. Mrs. hung up the phone, and the old housekeeper Zhu Xianshu came over from a distance and helped Mrs. to the living room. Mrs. rarely made phone calls, and Zhu Xianshu would always stand far away at this time, even though she had been with Mrs. for more than 50 years and was deeply trusted. The bond between master and servant that has been together for almost a lifetime is extraordinary. Because of this, Zhu Xianshu pays more attention to propriety. "The boss is still waiting outside," Zhu Xian said softly. "Why don't we call him after you have fallen asleep?" Mrs. squinted her eyes and seemed to have fallen asleep. After a while, she said, "You are in good spirits today. Let him come in." Zhu Xian responded comfortably, and naturally someone outside understood what she meant and called Zhu Changj in. "Grandma, Changj wishes to greet you." Zhu Changj walked in with a smile on his face and stood with his hands tied. "You look really good today. Changj has found a precious Korean ginseng for you." Mrs. did not speak, but still had her eyes closed. Zhu Xianshu waved her hand, and the driver, who was standing outside the door holding a gift, went to put the gift in the warehouse. "Grandma, it seems that there are distinguished guests coming to our door today." Zhu Changj felt like he was walking through a closed door of hell today. Can he not be concerned about this? At first, he regretted that he met reporters when he went out. In order to show his closeness to the people, he only took the driver with him. If he had brought a few more people, he would not have encountered this problem. Later, he realized that it was useless to have so many people. Mrs. opened her eyes, put on her reading glasses, and stared at Zhu Changj coldly. Zhu Changj hurriedly took 2 steps back, and his heart trembled. It turned out that this gag order was not only for those below, but no one in the family could mention it. "Changj, please go back first." Zhu Xianshu winked. "Grandma, please have a good rest. You miss your grandson when you have time. Changj will come to see you soon." Zhu Changj retreated respectfully. Zhu Xianshu went out to see Zhu Changj off. "I'll find a chance to talk about your matter. It's still early, so don't be impatient." Zhu Xianshu patted Zhu Changj on the shoulder. "Okay, Aunt Chu." Zhu Changj gently shook Zhu Xianshu's palm. Zhu Xianshu smiled softly and took out her hand. "Aunt Chu will watch you grow up and will not ignore you." Only then did Zhu Changj leave with peace of mind. Zhu Xianshu returned to the room and stood beside Mrs. "The young man who came today is an old descendant of mine. He came to see me. He seems to be a very sensible young man. Listening to Mrs. Su's intention of chatting with her, Zhu Xianxu continued. When she stood far away, she also looked at the young man supporting her. Mrs. Su was walking. At the beginning, he even held Mrs. Su's hand and kissed her for it. It seemed that only Zhu Huntang in the Zhu family had the opportunity to do this kind of intimate gesture. Growing up in Zhu's family and following the old lady for 50 years, it was the first time Zhu Xianxu heard that the old lady had such an old descendant. My little fairy went to Junsha, right? Yes. The third girl also went to Junsha. Just went today. Xiao Zhongqing is also in Junsha. Yes. Although Xiao Zhongqing is not your biological granddaughter, the third girl dotes on her. Please teach her more. I know, you go and rest. Mrs. Su got up and went back to her room, hoping that her lover would eventually get married. Lu Chang'an left Su Xiaoqiui's house and ran quickly. There were still many cameras in the central area of Taiwan. Lu Chang'an's speed was much faster than ordinary people, but it was not too shocking. After passing through several areas, he shuttled through old buildings. Several times, I circled around and came to the high-speed rail station to take the bus back to Hsinchu. After leaving the Hsinchu subway station and running to the beach, Lu Chang'an changed places and took off his clothes, put on the wet clothes from yesterday's sea crossing, adjusted his facial muscles and appearance, and jumped into the sea again. There were waves on the sea today, so Lu Chang'an spent most of the time under the water. He encountered schools of fish several times and saw many sunken ships, or there were many unyielding souls in these ships, from 1949 to 1954, including mainland China and other places. 228 ships from 10 countries have been frantically plundered and bombarded by the Taiwan authorities. Probably the people along the coast of Minchin are more aware of the significance of the flat-top boat circumnavigation of Taiwan. The Taiwan authorities who robbed the Taiwan Strait used to scare children. In other places, they mostly used monsters and monsters. Only the people along the coast of Minchin would say this. I will be arrested by Taiwanese people. Lu Chang'an passed through the fish school. The sea was calm, and he surfaced from time to time. When crossing the sea during the day, he could only judge the direction based on the direction of the ocean currents and some clues on the seabed. It took Lu Chang'an a little more time to reach Anton, and then ran to the train station, and by the time he returned to Junsha's home, it was already the next morning. As soon as he got home, the person who delivered the pullets came. Lu Chang'an took it in his hand and didn't even throw it into the carriage. He sat on the recliner in front of his house and remained motionless. A little tired. I met people I knew in the past, and witnessed the appearance from a young girl to gray hair as always. This scene was repeated so much that it seemed infinite, and overlapping it seemed to become an eternal scene. He confirmed the news he had received back then. Su Mei had turned into bones. She felt that there were still hidden secrets that Su Xiaoqiui was unwilling to tell. However, there was no doubt that Mrs. Su was indeed Su Xiaoqiui. Although she recognized the wrong person at first, she was able to accurately identify her later. It's not Su Mei anymore. Lu Chang'an was not very interested in exploring the secrets hidden in other people's hearts. Over the past thousands of years, secrets, big and small, had accumulated like the sand at the bottom of a river. The truth that is too far away is often not revealed to the world for future generations. It's a conversation piece that has nothing to do with me, so what if I know? Some people will never be seen after all, even if they are seen, so what? But he still felt sleepy. Lu Chang'an looked at the time. Why don't he go to class again today? Thinking about Nuan, it's better to forget it. With her temperament, he didn't give a clear reason for asking for leave, and he didn't go to school today. She would definitely come over under the banner of monitor to observe the situation and torment Lu Chang'an, who was doing nothing at home. Actually, I want to play cards. I want to read a collection of poems under the parasol tree. I want to spend the day in a mahjong parlor. The person who delivered the pullets came. He said that someone else had taken yesterday's pullets, and Lu Chang'an took today's pullets and threw them into the carriage. Just as he was about to close the door, Lu Chang'an felt that there was something more thirsty for blood in the carriage today. It was probably because he was hungry yesterday. However, this was not the reason that attracted Lu Chang'an to turn around. He noticed that there were extremely unusual marks on the seams of the coffin seal. Tiny, pinprick-sized red dots. Scarlet. It was as if an ordinary person's finger was pricked by a needle, and blood droplets emerged and the blood-draining pinhole could be seen after wiping it clean. Lu Chang'an had observed the coffin, and based on his observation and memory, he concluded that the little red dot did not exist at first. "Who are you?" Lu Chang'an knocked on the coffin. Of course there was no response. Lu Chang'an closed the carriage door. Zhou Dongdong jumped down and dragged a net bag, swinging his hands left and right as usual like a square dance to the door of Lu Chang'an's house, handed the soy milk to Lu Chang'an, and told Lu Chang'an loudly, "You were not at home yesterday. I drank all the soy milk I gave you, and then I had diarrhea, and then I went downstairs very unhappy, and then someone else gave me the little hen, and then I gave the little hen back to you today, and then. Zhou Dongdong took a breath. After his breathing calmed down, he forgot about what happened next. "What did my little hen look like yesterday?" Lu Chang'an said, pointing to the half-dead and motionless little hen in the net bag. He didn't ask Zhou Dongdong the truth about the little hen. How can an adult just give it to him? Entrusting other people's things to a child who looks stupid at first glance. As long as you ate it today, it doesn't matter. Yes, Lu Chang'an agreed with this statement. Then when you're done, can you give me some to eat? You can only eat chicken butts. My mother said chicken butts are poisonous. Zhou Dongdong's eyes widened. You want to poison me again? Aren't you alive? Maybe you can't be poisoned. No. No. No, Zhou Dongdong said with rare self-awareness, my mother detoxified me last time. She gave me a red bean-like antidote, and I didn't die. Zhou Shuling does know how to deal with Zhou Dongdong. If a child with such a brain as Zhou Dongdong tries to reason with her and says that centipede meat is not poisonous and cannot kill her, she probably won't listen and will still make a fuss. After Lu Chang'an drank the soy milk, and with some suggestions and guidance from Zhou Dongdong, he killed the pullet. Anyway, this one was an extra one. If he didn't eat it quickly, he might not survive to go home at night. Lu Chang'an directly cut the chicken into slices and grilled it. The chicken butt is actually very delicious. The convex object on the top hides the gland cavity, also called the supracavitary bursa. Just dig out the globular object. Zhou Dongdong was eating roasted chicken legs and worriedly watching Lu Chang'an eating the chicken butt. His mother went out. Brother Chang'an will be poisoned later. What will he do if there is no antidote? I wonder if I can detoxify him by spitting on him. After Lu Chang'an finished eating the chicken, he didn't look like he had poisonous hair when he was getting ready to go to school. Zhou Dongdong couldn't help but regretfully swallowed his saliva. The chicken butt looked really delicious. Ask for a recommendation vote and add to the bookshelf. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikin Ru Xiahua. Chapter 65. After the brief drizzle during the Dragon Boat Festival, Junxia ushered in a day of clear clouds and breezy weather. Lu Chang'an strolled to school and was not unexpectedly late. Places where youth gather always appear more energetic, and the energy and blood in the hustle and bustle are strong, making those who work there stay young for a longer period of time. Huang Shan casually flipped through the pushed information about the launch of the female anchors show. It's so easy to get your blood pumping early in the morning. Good morning, teacher Huang. Lu Chang'an was about to pass Huang Shan, but Huang Shan keenly caught him from the corner of his eye and took the initiative to say hello. Lu Chang'an, what did you do yesterday? You are late again today. In Huang Shan's view, Asking for leave at this time is already unacceptable, not to mention being late after asking for leave. It is too wasteful to race against time. I went to Taiwan. Oh? What are you lying about? The day before yesterday you were still participating in Yangui Lake activities, Huang Shan said angrily. It is very common for students to lie, but Lu Chang'an rarely does it. He actually found such an obviously perfunctory person today. The excuse was that he, Huang Shan, was easy to deal with, or that he was about to take the college entrance examination anyway, so he could be unscrupulous. Why didn't you say you went to Antarctica to see penguins? Lu Chang'an took out his mobile phone and showed Huang Shan the photos. Look, I even took a photo with the 010 building, the tallest building in Taiwan. There are 4 big words floating in the sky, come here for a visit. On the photo, there are 4 words written by Lu Chang'an with his fingers. Look, this is Tulin official residence, and these signs are all in traditional Chinese characters. Look, I took a photo with a kind little girl from Taiwan. Huang Shan has also been to Taiwan. People of this age always have some past feelings about Taiwan. Who knew that there was always a text about Taiwan in the texts when he was a child? I really thought it was such a precious place. So he could see that Lu Chang'an had indeed gone to Taiwan, and he found it even more incredible. Then you stayed there for 2 days. Huang Shan thought that Lu Chang'an went to Taiwan the night before. One day. Huang Shan didn't want to say anything else. Maybe Lu Chang'an had become rich. Besides, he didn't go to many places in Taiwan, so 1-day trip would be enough for him. There is a commendation meeting during the morning break. It will focus on praising you for your heroic deeds of sacrificing yourself to save others. You are ready to speak. Huang Shan remembered the business, and he was too lazy to continue criticizing Lu Chang'an. The principal also said hello to take care of Lu Chang'an. And Nuan didn't tell me. Lu Chang'an looked at Huang Shan in surprise. I am the head teacher, why must she tell you? Good. Lu Chang'an, despite your current glory, as long as I, Huang Shan, am the class teacher, you will always be a negative teaching material among the students in the attached middle school and beyond. Okay. Lu Chang'an had no objection. Huang Shan waved his hand and hesitated. Also, take it easy in the future. It's okay to sacrifice yourself to save others, but be careful not to involve yourself in any situation. Thank you, teacher. Lu Chang'an came to the classroom. The morning reading class had just finished. He walked in from behind the door. Miao Yingying was asking Gao Duai for an exercise. Gao Duai was obviously a little confused about how to answer Miao Yingying in detail for an exercise that he took for granted and did not require any skills. Unable to grasp it, Nuan was sorting out the college entrance examination volunteer questionnaires that were sent out in the morning. She folded the pile and left a blank one next to it. Come here and fill out the questionnaire, and you're the only one left. And Nuan also caught Lu Chang'an out of the corner of his eye. She stood up and asked Lu Chang'an to sit in her seat. And Nuan's chair is warm. Usually, the seats where others sit are too warm, and it is always a bit disgusting to sit on it, but it is in Nuan after all, and the seats are exuding the fragrance of a girl. Why are you so shy when you see me today? Lu Chang'an asked strangely. How can I? And Nuan was a little confused. Although she did have that feeling in her heart after not seeing him for a long time, and then sprouted that kind of panic-stricken but sweet emotion, but there was no obvious shyness as he said. Look, your ears are red. I didn't apply sunscreen properly, and Nuan wanted to give him a break. The ultraviolet rays at the beach were too strong, so Nuan only took care of her face when applying sunscreen. Lu Chang'an flipped through a stack of questionnaires. What are you turning over? I managed to sort it out with great difficulty. And yours? What are you doing? I'll copy it. This is a voluntary questionnaire survey. It's not an assignment. Is there any answer? And Nuan rolled her eyes at him and copied this one too. Your questionnaire is my answer. Lu Chang'an laughed. I will go where you are. And Nuan was dissatisfied and found that her cheeks were really as red as her ears and still warm. She stamped her feet, twisted her body coquettishly, raised her head reservedly and looked around, but at this moment she didn't dare look at the smile on Lu Chang'an's face, because she is afraid that when they look into each other's eyes, her heartbeat will cause tension in the blood in her body, causing the pink color to spread from her cheeks to her neck, and she will stand tall and straight like a swan. It is elegant and moving when worn around the neck, but it is even more beautiful when wrapped around the neck of a couple. Oh, it's so cool, my god, I can't stand it. Miao Yingying, who had just listened for a long time and failed to understand Gao Dui's solution to the problem, keenly captured the key to the conversation between Lu Chang'an and An Nuan. Covering his cheek and shouting, Lu Chang'an, how can you be so good at flirting with girls? Looking for a beating. What are you making fun of? And Nuan hit the person shyly, because she really felt guilty, because she was really caught, and it was not some rumor or misunderstanding. Even a fool could hear the ambiguity in Lu Chang'an's words. Ha, your questionnaire is my answer. Where are you, where will I go? Miao Yingying laughed and repeated, and An Nuan almost pushed her onto Gao Dui. What's so funny about this? You guys should do your best and we'll all get admitted to the same school, Gao Dui said inexplicably. This Miao Yingying has been silly all day long, but if she wants to get scores like An Nuan and Lu Chang'an, there is no hope. Yes, I can't even solve such a simple analysis question today, and I don't know if my brain has developed to the size of a normal human being. Gao Dui didn't say it directly. After all, girls can't be expected to be as smart as An Nuan. Gao Dui, you are a fool. Miao Yingying rolled her eyes at Gao Dui. Gao Dui didn't bother to refute at all, and it was more fun to do the questions. It was really hard to talk to girls. They didn't know what was in their minds, and they were incomprehensible all day long. Lu Chang'an finished copying the questionnaire and handed it to An Nuan. An Nuan blushed and felt shy when she saw Lu Chang'an today. Lu Chang'an returned to his seat. Bai Hui asked Lu Chang'an where he had gone. Lu Chang'an's answer was the same as what he told Huang Shan. How did you get there? You were in a bit of a hurry, Bai Hui said enviously. I also want to go to Taiwan. I feel that the people there are also very nice. When I hear them talk, they all sound soft and gentle. First take the train, then run to Anton and swim there. Lu Chang'an shook his head. It's not interesting. Taiwan City is not as fun as Yangui Lake. We can go to Yangui Lake to play again when we have time. There will be fewer people, Bai Hui whispered. It will not be easy for accidents to happen again. Did you go to Taiwan to visit Taiwan? Lu Yuan on the side said with obvious disbelief. My parents and I went there for the winter vacation and spent more than 100,000 yuan in 5 days. The consumption there is very high. Because everyone has always known that Lu Chang'an is very poor, and going to Taiwan is considered an outbound trip. Although it is not as good as going to those luxury travel destinations, it is not something Lu Chang'an can afford. Not counting the travel expenses here, I bought 2 high-speed rail tickets and drank a glass of orange juice. The total is about 150 yuan, but the orange juice is a bit expensive. Lu Chang'an thought for a while and said. Haha, you must have dreamed of going to Taiwan. Qian Ning found it very interesting. Lu Chang'an is really a humorous person. Bai Hui shook her head secretly and didn't say anything. She didn't have time to gossip with Qian Ning and Lu Yuan. She really wanted to say that Lu Chang'an even knew her cousin's boss. Maybe he didn't have much money, but he went to Taiwan with someone by the way. What's so incredible about the island? Qian Ning and Lu Yuan were still too naive. They only knew how to laugh at Lu Chang'an. Judging from Lu Chang'an's indifferent expression, he probably didn't take them seriously at all. I regularly ask for votes and add it to the bookshelf. Students who like it can recommend it to people around them. In the past, People often said that Xiaohua's books were embarrassing to recommend to others. There should be no shame in recommending this book. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 66. The commendation meeting between classes was a gathering of the whole school and was held in the gymnasium. The principal gave a speech and talked about the glorious tradition of the attached high school, which gave birth to many young heroes, from the revolution of 1911 to the May 4th movement, and then to the hometown of Comrade Mao Zedong. How should people carry forward this spirit in the new era? Finally, he focused on praising Lu Chang'an and the 3 male classmates who worked together to save people. Although Bai Hui, as the organizer of the event, bears certain responsibilities, it is not her problem after all. She was calm and proactive in taking first aid measures when the incident happened, which reflects the extremely high quality of a contemporary teenager and is also well received. Awarded. Bai Hui vividly and emotionally restored the situation at that time, especially when describing the situation when Lu Chang'an struggled to push Zhao Wuqiang to the surface of the water before he fainted. His eyes sparkled with tears of emotion, and he won warm applause from the audience. Huang Shan was also proud of his face. After all, he was a student in his own class. He thought that after graduation, Lu Chang'an would finally earn some face for him. Teachers are just like people who work for a living in any system or public institution. Very concerned about face issues. The school decided to reward Lu Chang'an 200,000 yuan, the 3 male classmates who saved the life also received 20,000 yuan each, Bai Hui received 10,000 yuan, and Huang Shan, as the class teacher, also received 10,000 yuan. The reward was unexpected, because Huang Shan had only received news beforehand that the school would reward him heavily, but he did not expect such a high reward. Back in the classroom, the whole classroom was a little crazy. After all, the money was a huge amount for the students, especially Lu Chang'an. Everyone knew that he had no parents to control him, so this gave him free control. 200,000. Boys and girls at this age are so passionate and hungry in their pursuit of financial freedom. Lu Chang'an, you must treat us. That's it, let's start the weekend St. Regis buffet, Lin Xinhua said. You want to be beaten, and Nuan shouted majestically to stop the students who were following the booing. Whoever dares to treat Lu Chang'an, I will send a list to the broadcast room and the whole school will be criticized. As for the St. Regis buffet, it usually costs more than 400, and on weekends, it costs more than 600 per person. This is not a small amount of money. Lu Ning only had a buffet in a 5-star hotel on his birthday. Everyone it only cost more than 200 people, and only about 20 familiar classmates and friends were invited. They went in groups, because many high-end cafeterias do not accommodate groups of more than 10 people. After all, it is a prestigious public school, and the school spirit of the attached high school is still good. Everyone is just making fun of him, and they don't really want Lu Chang'an to treat him so extravagantly. But An Nuan became the target of ridicule. Are you going to take care of your wallet now? Zhang Dao said with a smile. It's gift money, Miao Yingying also teased. Let's forget it, Lu Chang'an, you and An Nuan go to Wangpan to eat steak. Go to the restaurant in Zhezhou. The environment is great and the style is high. The food in Zhezhou is not delicious, so why not go to Poza Street to eat fish mouth? There is a frog eel pot that is also delicious. An Nuan's cheeks turned red, and she glanced at Lu Chang'an. He was nonchalant, smiling all the time, and didn't look like he was going to help An Nuan. An Nuan simply slapped the table and drove away the hecklers. Let's have lunch together, An Nuan whispered to Lu Chang'an. Of course. You said 200,000 yuan is going to be used to buy exercise books. How much can you buy? Gao Duai, who has been pondering this question, raised his head. Can you calculate whether it is more to buy test paper sets or to buy more page question sets? If it is a 4, if you pile up large and small exercise sets, how high should they be piled? Have you tripped your head? Miao Yingying rolled her eyes at Gao Duai. You're a hebeo, a bealai beokai. I'm joking, do you understand? You can still joke. Do you think you are joking? Miao Yingying really couldn't tell. If Gao Duai was so serious, Miao Yingying felt that she would not be too surprised. If I want to have 200,000 yuan, I will equip it with an Alienware host i9-7980XE processor, 32GB memory, 512G SSD, add 2T hard drive, dual GTX 1080 111G independent graphics, and a 34-inch curved monitor to play games. I still have more than 100,000 yuan left. Lin said with infinite longing, but also a little regretful. If I had known that the prize would be so great, I would have died in Yangui Lake. You're also a head snapper. Miao Yingying was even more rude to Lin Zine and gave him a hard slap. And Nuan was quite envious of Miao Yingying, because Miao Yingying treated Lin Xinhua like this, and Lin Xinhua gave in to her. And Nuan actually remembered that when Lu Chang'an was sitting with her, she hit him, and he hit him with his backhand. It hit her chest, really. Lu Chang'an returned to his seat, and Bai Hui was writing and drawing on the paper, which looked like a plan with money. When Bai Hui saw Lu Chang'an looking at it, he said with some embarrassment, I plan to spend it myself and not let my family know. The bonus was directly transferred to the bank account, but it hasn't arrived yet. Lu Chang'an didn't have any plans at all. He knew very well that the reason why the reward was so high had something to do with Ma Xingguo and Qin Yinan's visit to the school some time ago. He didn't care about this. Zhao Wuqiang didn't come to school today. It seemed that he had determined that his hand injury was serious enough to prevent him from taking the college entrance examination. What a pity. There is nothing I can do to save someone. If a big log hits him, who can save him? Regret. This is fate and a kind of growth. I'll treat you to dinner at noon. Without you, I won't get the bonus. If something happens, I will be punished by the school, Bai Hui said in a low voice, because after Lu Chang'an sat down, Qian Ning and Lu Yuan's, this is where the attention shifts. Bai Hui suddenly felt very annoyed. Why were they always staring at her like this? Can't they find some hobbies of their own to focus on? I made an appointment with An Nuan. Then next time. Lu Chang'an still looked like he didn't care about anything. Bai Hui wanted to ask him how he planned to spend the 200,000, but it felt like he didn't care about it at all. His mood was not very high. As a girl, he was still sensitive. Her intuition told her that Lu Chang'an seemed to have encountered something during the holidays. Although he usually seemed to be doing nothing, his gentle aura always made people feel like a gentle breeze. After passing through the forest, it was more refreshing and pleasant. Unlike now, it seemed that the dense branches and leaves completely blocked the wind. Have the flowers bloomed on my face? Lu Chang'an suddenly turned to Bai Hui and said. Bai Hui's cheeks turned red. She was afraid that she was overthinking just now. For a person like Lu Chang'an, if there was a flood, he would just float with the water, and then slowly think about whether he should swim breaststroke or butterfly stroke. Lu Chang'an didn't pay much attention to the class all morning, and Bai Hui didn't pay much attention to the class either. He watched Lu Chang'an draw a young woman in the style of the Republic of China in the exercise book, with moving features, as if the charming appearance was reproduced, and people could feel her emotions. Who is this? Bai Hui couldn't help but ask. Sume. Lu Chang'an and An Nuan went to have dinner together at noon. The birds in the trees chirped and urinated and defecated casually. Lu Chang'an pushed a bicycle with bird droppings on the crossbar, and An Nuan found a pink-colored bicycle. Lu Chang'an followed An Nuan and watched her riding a bicycle. She stepped on the pedals with her legs and hummed easily like a ballad wrapped in the wind. Her calves looked particularly slender, pulling her round thighs because she was sitting on the bicycle. Because of this, the girl's well-developed curves became fuller. When the waist was twisted, the butterfly bones were pushed up, the shoulders were shrugged, the long hair swayed like dogtail grass in the wind, and the two ears were slightly pinker than the skin color. So cute. When Lu Chang'an passed by her, he reached over and pinched her ears, then he laughed twice and pedaled the wheels very fast. You. And Nuan's ears felt hot due to shyness. Can a girl's ears be touched casually? And Nuan quickly sped up to catch up, wanting to pull his ears in revenge. At the door of the restaurant, Lu Chang'an parked the car, and Nuan caught up with him and successfully pulled his ear. I just found out today that you know a little bit about water, but don't hang around with half a bucket of water in the future. I haven't bullied you enough. And Nuan let go of his ears and said seriously. When did you bully me? Lu Chang'an reminded her with some surprise. You are delusional. You get the point. The point is, I know how to use water, but you don't. Is this the point? Of course, you can find reasons to ask me to teach you how to swim during the summer vacation, stupid girl. You are the stupid one. And Nuan retorted instinctively, and when she came to her senses she was a little surprised. Aren't you going out to play during the summer vacation? Didn't you bully me enough? Let's spend the summer fighting to see who can bully whom. I must have bullied you, and Nuan said happily, pulling on Lu Chang'an's sleeve. The two walked into the restaurant and ordered food. And Nuan took out a small wooden sign tied with a red string from her bag and handed it to Lu Chang'an. When I worshipped Guanyin of the South China Sea, I asked you for a wishing sign to bless the college entrance examination. You remember to take it with you when you enter the examination room, it will protect you. And Nuan carefully tied the red rope to Lu Chang'an's hand. I have class in the afternoon, how can I do my homework with this thing hanging on? You do your homework. All right. Lu Chang'an has a good attitude today, and Nuan is very satisfied. In fact, she also asked for a wishing card related to love, but she must be embarrassed to take it out, and she doesn't know if it will work, but Guanyin Bodhisattva definitely doesn't like Lu Chang'an. Damn it, maybe the wish went astray, but, wishing to Lu Chang'an would have gone astray. Seeing the wishing card hanging on Lu Chang'an's hand, and Nuan couldn't help but think of her mother secretly making wishes there. Where was the wishing card she brought back? Fortunately for her, even the wishing card to bless the college entrance examination was made by Nuan herself, and she didn't know what she wished for. It's also LV1. Other people's books can stay on the newcomer list for 45 days, but I can only stay on the newcomer list for 30 days, if I want to continue to increase my collection and maintain relatively good results, I have to rely on everyone to spread the word of mouth. Thank you all. Thank you all for your generous tips. I didn't expect Xiahua to receive so many tips. I am so grateful. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Can Ru Xiahua. Chapter 67. Lu Chang'an went to bring over a platter of fruits and vegetables. You can choose any variety and it costs 20 yuan per plate until it is full. And Nuan took a carrot as thick as a finger and bit it gently. Have you practiced the Qinwei alchemy I gave you? Lu Chang'an handed a piece of papaya to the plate in front of Nuan. This kind of fruit is suggestive. No, Nuan denied loudly, and in order to show the girl's reserve and shame, her cheeks were pink, and there was a lot of anger in her eyes, and she glared at Lu Chang'an. It's early, Lu Chang'an reminded her. Actually, I should have given it to you earlier. Do you know why authors who write urban romance novels now like to start writing books in spring? What does this have to do with anything? Lu Chang'an's topic jumped too much, and Nuan couldn't keep up. If you have been a librarian, you will know that the number of romance novels borrowed in spring is much higher than that in summer. This means that the desire for psychological needs such as love is seasonal. In spring, readers are more interested in romance novels. If he is interested, if he starts writing in the summer, his grades will often decline to a certain extent. What does this have to do with me? And Nuan remembered that she had bought 2 romance novels after the spring festival. She read them with gusto at the time, but now she is really not that interested in reading them. But this is because studying is more stressful, not to mention, who said Nuan has no desire to fall in love now? What a fool. Because psychological needs are affected by physiology, blood energy is stronger in spring, and the human body is more suitable for nourishment and development. If you start practicing Qin Wei alchemy in spring, I think you will no longer care about Beifan so much, Lu Chang'an said regretfully. Who cares about Beifan? And Nuan firmly denied it, but, give it a try next spring. Have a meal. I'll eat some fruit first. By the way, Beifan also gets a bonus. I think she will definitely buy some cosmetics. She likes to dress up. I saw the plan she wrote was to change her phone. Look what her plan is. I'll see what girls like, and then I'll know what gifts to give them. And Nuan coughed lightly, tilted her head and looked out the window, looking carelessly, but she couldn't let him see that she was thinking about whether he would give her a gift. By the way, I heard Professor Ling across from my house say that a professor at Hunan University had a relationship with a student. Something happened, and both the school and the family knew about it, and Nuan lowered her voice and said, she wanted to change the topic. If she continued with the original, the topic may have the effect of reminding Lu Chang'an that Nuan would be very happy if he gave Nuan a gift. And Nuan hoped that he would have such an idea on his own instead of being reminded. This kind of thing is very common. Generally, a girl's life or social environment is relatively simple. Especially when there is a strong man in her relatively narrow social field who easily dominates her life, work, and study, she can easily be attracted by this man. Possession, Lu Chang'an said, this is a human social emotional activity, rather than an emotional activity dominated by physiological. Of course, most of the time social and physiological are mixed together, thus promoting the relationship between men and women. After all, whether it is social or physical, the relationship between men and women itself has dual characteristics. In many cases, it is a physical and social activity, which is not essentially different from loving group sports. Lu Chang'an, if there is a major in bullshit, you must be a senior professor in the major of bullshit, and Nuan said with great admiration. With Lu Chang'an, you never have to worry about running out of topics. You can point at a piece of dogtail grass and he will follow you. The Origin of Life talks about the characteristics of plants in various historical periods of the earth. You can call me Professor Lu from now on. Professor Lu, I am Nuan, a freshman in the class of 2017. Please let me learn nonsense from you in the future. Professors generally don't teach new students unless they have professional training tasks. If you don't take me with you, I will bully you. All right. And Nuan was as proud as if she had achieved a major victory. She tilted her head and pursed her lips, smiling. She took a vegetable leaf from Lu Chang'an's bowl and put it into her mouth as if she had won the fruit of victory. This girl is at a disadvantage. The professor will definitely not marry her, and Nuan said sympathetically. Yes, according to the previous saying, a woman between 15 and 25 years old can replenish yang and blood, be beautiful and pleasing to the spirit, and can become an immortal if she behaves with discipline. From 25 to 35 years old, I give to others and receive them, even if there is no serious damage to the body. Over 40 years old, it can cause illness. If the geranium is dead, it is like a dead branch absorbing water. It is nothing more than ghost intercourse and killing. The essence and blood of men are as few as ointment rain, as strong as dew, and withered and tender, they contain the nourishing spring. The buds are moist, and the growth is like frost and snow, making the beauty fade and wither the ears. In short, this man harvests yin and replenishes yang. What you said about suffering a loss is not the same thing, and Nuandong looked around to see if anyone was paying attention to what Lu Chang'an was saying, and blushed angrily. You don't believe these things, do you? The limitations of the times. Don't expect a person's knowledge in any aspect to transcend the limitations of the times. The development of history and the progress of civilization. You really believe these things, I'm going to punish you by drinking my soup. I can drink 3 bowls. Lu Chang'an just believed it before. Who hasn't experienced stupidity? After lunch and a short rest, the two of them rode bicycles back to school. After entering the classroom, Lu Chang'an received the transfer information and the bonus arrived. He thanked the school, thanked Zhao Wuqiang, and especially thanked the leader Ma Xingguo and cousin Qin Yanan for their visit. Sara invites you to dinner. Has your bonus arrived? Bai Hui lowered his voice and said to Lu Chang'an like a secret meeting. She was so close that Lu Chang'an could smell the faint fragrance between her lips and teeth. Arrive. I've already spent all of mine, I emptied my shopping cart because I had already planned it. What did you buy? A cell phone and a cute little dress. Cell phone? Little skirt? Lu Chang'an looked back at En Nuan. En Nuan was just staring at Bai Hui. What was this shameless busta woman doing so close to Lu Chang'an? En Nuan raised the book to cover her face, slowly raised it, and then exposed her eyes to observe in the gap between the bottom of the book and the top of the stack of books on the desk. Let me see the skirt you bought, Lu Chang'an said to Bai Hui. Bai Hui clicked on the web page and showed it to Lu Chang'an. It was an RB brand angelic pretty, with a tender pink color. Do girls like this? I'm sure, any girl will like it. Look at the colors above. Doesn't it look like a little fairy's clothes? Little fairy. Yes, fairies, girls are all fairies. Lu Chang'an turned his head to read a book. En Nuan stopped practicing volleyball after school today. She changed the 6 days until the college entrance examination on the edge of the blackboard by a number and left the school with Lu Chang'an. After leaving at Kyoto, Lu Chang'an went to the vegetable market before going home. He bought a Chinese cabbage and put it in the carriage. Since even the sycamore tree would be affected by the coffin, it must have a good appetite. Every day, little hen, when serving, you also have to mix meat and vegetables. How about trying Chinese cabbage? Lu Chang'an closed the carriage door and received a call from Qin Yanan, saying that her great-grandfather had sent a message, but she did not say on the phone that she was coming to see Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an had no objection and asked her to come to him at the mahjong parlor. At sunset and dusk, after a full meal, what else can you do but play mahjong? I want to update at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because I always want to sleep in the morning. Zhu Huntang knows that the morning is the best time to sleep in and not waste it on other things. Or is it still updated at 12 o'clock? I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 68. In the evening, Lu Chang'an ate fried bacon with scallops. The scallops were cut into squares, like white jade. The local chili peppers were curvy and not so pretty. They were cut into short round segments, green as jade. After adding ginger and garlic, stir fry until fragrant. Then pour in the watered bacon, pour the cooking wine and cover the pot. After the aroma is fragrant, take it out of the pot. The white, green, and red color looks great and goes well with rice. Lu Chang'an was very full. When he came to the mahjong parlor, he leaned against the door like a lazy man and took out his mobile phone to read the messages. Have you not been on Weibo these days? You didn't even like the photos I took in Sanya. I have been to Taiwan these days. I will check your Weibo later. Why don't you post a photo of you and your mother? My mother is very good looking and has a good figure. She is also a university professor. She stands with me like a sister. So I said, why don't you post a photo with your mother? There must be a lot of likes, comments, and reposts. Because my mother is a traditional mature woman, she prefers to use WeChat, and her circle of friends are all real friends. Makes sense. I asked for a wishing card in Sanya, and I also asked for it for you. I wish you success in your career, good health, and happy love. Then you have to send it to me. Don't you live near Bailong Center? When I go shopping there one day, I will put it in the locker at Bailong Center. Then I will send you the password to open the locker, and you can get it. I admire your wit very much. Hey, I'm sorry to meet you. Lu Chang'an went to Weibo to look at the photos and liked them one by one. Someone in the mahjong parlor shouted 3 and 1, so naturally he was going to appear. Today, the central figure in the mahjong parlor is Wang Qianfang. The younger ones call her Sister Wan, and the older ones call her Miss Wan. She is considered to be the richest in the community. She lives in Yunnan province all year round and comes back to stay from time to time. The mahjong you play is too fine. You can't lose even one ticket. Let's play bigger today and have some fun ones, Wang Qianfang said with a lack of interest. Mahjong under 10 yuan is not interesting. Xiao Lu, come on, old man Qian pushed Lu Chang'an. Although he was usually very unconvinced, when it came to protecting face for the Mei friends in the community, old man Qian was still very self-aware. The matter of charging into the battle and serving as cannon fodder was naturally a matter of course. It's up to Lu Chang'an to do it. Lu Chang'an came on stage, as well as Lu Chang'an's family, Mrs. Lu, and Auntie Xie from the canteen. These two people usually play cards more cheerfully and rarely hum when winning or losing, although Mrs. Lu likes to get eggs, hens and the like from time to time. Dead offset, but generally there is no objection. This is also hard currency. Are you playing the partnership card? After fighting for a while, Wang Qianfang felt that something was wrong. The family above and below always touched each other randomly and seldom fired. Lu Chang'an, who was opposite, never touched himself and only caught her. She fired too many cannons. Although Lu Chang'an didn't win much, the self-drawn cards used to pay the other two were enough. You, get off here, Wang Qianfang was not happy. She was the only one who lost, and in a short time, she lost more than 300. This Lu Chang'an's card game was too strange. That won't work. Why? Miss Wan is unhappy. Where are you going? I didn't even win, and I lost 10 yuan. Why should I bet? Lu Chang'an was very unconvinced. After playing a few more times, Wang Qianfang became unhappy, pushed her away, slapped the table, stood up, and left the mahjong parlor angrily. Everyone burst into laughter, and the air inside and outside the mahjong hall was filled with joy. Lu Chang'an was in full glory, and Qin Yinan came to the mahjong parlor. The eyes of the old man, old lady, and aunts were all focused on Qin Yinan. After a brief silence in the mahjong parlor, there was the sound of the mahjong being played. Xiao Lu, a girl's family is here to see you. Don't delay her affairs. Old Qian couldn't wait to push Lu Chang'an and occupy his seat. Lu Chang'an pointed at old man Qian, and then followed Qin Yinan out. Why do you always like to hang out with old people? At your age, shouldn't you like livelier places? Just a few steps away is Jifang West Road. I heard that this is Juncha's Bar Street, with both meat and vegetarian options. There are all of them, and there are pedestrian streets, snack streets, ancient town streets, and many large and small entertainment venues nearby. Qin Yinan had actually been watching Lu Chang'an outside for a while. Looking at his contented look, it really doesn't look like a young man pretending to be mature to get in there. Loneliness is the normal state of life. Only by being able to endure loneliness will you not lose yourself. People with a strong heart must have little interest in the so-called excitement. Most entertainment activities are not as good as holding a book, flipping through it, drinking a little wine, eat some snacks. Lu Chang'an pointed to the mahjong parlor. Mahjong, chess, and cards, etc. Even after playing for thousands of years, the situation will be different. Even if you hold the same tiles, you can play thousands of different games. The various combinations are almost endless, just like the evolution of the universe. It's fun. Qin Yinan remembered that his great-grandfather also liked chess and card activities, but naturally he could not play as casually and happily as Lu Chang'an did. Mr. Qin asked you to give me a message, can you say it? Lu Chang'an looked at Qin Yinan. Qin Yinan wore light makeup today. There was no visible embellishment on her lips and eyebrows as in the daytime. Under the dim lights and interlaced shadows of the trees in the community, the prints were natural and her lip color was more charming eyebrow color. Thinking of An Nuan's various thoughts about Bai Hui, luckily the target she cares about is Bai Hui. If Qin Yinan was already in despair, or he was practicing hard with Qin Wei alchemy, that would be useless. Innate deficiencies can be made up for in the future. But if the gap is too big, it means that hard work cannot catch up with talent. He said he wanted you to take a closer look at me. Qin Yinan walked under the street lamp and leaned against the wall motionless. There was something unnatural on her cheeks, as if she was waiting for his gaze, and she was a little nervous. She was not a transaction object that she wanted to hand to him, and she had to give him more careful attention. Review it? Lu Chang'an looked at Qin Yinan under the light. Shadows at night appeared here and there, making people's outlines blurred. What the eyes saw needed more mental images to complete. So at this moment, Qin Yinan looked more and more like Yesijin. It was as if he had traveled through time and was the exact same person. I've finished reading. Lu Chang'an raised his hand, put it down again, and turned around. It seems that he has been playing riddles with me. I am too lazy to guess his thoughts. I will visit him again when I have a chance. Okay. Qin Yinan also relaxed. I still want to thank you. After he received the letter, he promised not to force me anymore, and he only asked me not to leave Juncha within a year. Then remember to come and cook for me often. It's agreed. All right. Qin Yinan is also a person who keeps her word. She has to stay in Juncha this year anyway, and there is no place for her to go to play. In terms of fun, she is like Lu Chang'an, and has no interest in entertainment projects and activities that are too noisy. Cooking and having a little cousin to hang out with who is quite interesting but not boring and shallow. Take a closer look at Qin Yinan. Lu Chang'an was thinking about this question. Apart from looking more and more like Yesijin, what else is good about him? Lu Chang'an wanted to scold Qin Peng. Do you really think that being over 100 years old is a big deal? Don't you say something directly? As soon as this person got older, he liked to play riddles and let others guess for fun. After all, he was the child he raised and trained. Lu Chang'an quickly put it aside and said to Qin Yinan, why don't you wear a cheongsam like your great-grandmother's one day? It might look particularly good, right? Qin Yinan opened his mouth slightly, took 2 steps and unconsciously pressed his hands on his lower abdomen, as if Lu Chang'an had discovered his little plan, and smiled unnaturally. Okay. She was a little depressed. She planned to do this to give him a surprise. She didn't want to see his calm and careless look. She was very curious about his jaw-dropping reaction at that time. Now he took the initiative to propose it. Which means that he has psychological expectations in this regard. It is inevitable that the effect will be greatly reduced. Can he not be depressed? They also say that Zhou Dongdong is uneducated and always eats Lu Chang'an's food. Can you see her eating Lu Chang'an's food? Can't you see that little thing gets up early every day to deliver soy milk to Lu Chang'an no matter what? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 69. Qin Yinan invited Lu Chang'an for a walk. The night is wonderful, the streets are lively, and the people walking there have various paces. Power outages are very rare now. In the past, it was normal for power outages to occur every now and then or even every day in the summer. Generally, power outages occurred after eating. People are used to it, they would rush to eat and take a shower, then grab a fan, chair, and tea, gathering in twos and threes in various cool places under the grapevines to chat, talking about the shortcomings of their parents, and talking about the young days in their memories. Children were playing happily beside them, and there were always elderly people who just watched without saying a word. In the Milky Way in the sky, there are also dates between men and women under the melon fields and plum trees. At that time, the melon sheds were always lonely among the fields, but it was a good place for dates. Actually, except for the power outage, the lives of ordinary people have been like this for thousands of years. Generation after generation, it's just that the development has been too fast in the past 200 years, and for us, it has only been in the past few decades, and it has been turned upside down. Lu Chang'an seems to be just describing the life history of ordinary people he witnessed, rather than expressing emotion. You are so old-fashioned. Qin Yinan has become accustomed to her little cousin's tone and emotion. Didn't you go to Taiwan? But I asked around and the people in the Su family said that Mrs. Su didn't receive any guests. What are you asking about, little girl? It's normal for people of the older generation to be secretive when meeting. Lu Chang'an waved his hand. Let's not talk about Taiwan. Don't you want to introduce someone to me? Sometimes he talked about her age, and sometimes she talked about her little girl's family. Qin Yinan was still very useful to the latter. She seemed to be a little more delicate and didn't care about his tone. Yes, Mrs. Su's my great-granddaughter is about the same age as you, and the two families have a long history, so the descendants should know each other, and maybe this will be the beginning of a romance. Qin Yinan now feels that she has no intention of pushing Zhu Huntang out. Apart from being poor, this little cousin is actually very good compared to his peers. But what is the shortcoming of an 18-year-old boy who is poor? Don't bully the young man into being poor. It is very realistic and predictable that since his great-grandfather valued Lu Chang'an so much, and with the Qin family taking care of him, Lu Chang'an would get ahead no matter what. Even if it is mud that cannot hold up the wall, Qin Yinan is confident that he can turn it into concrete, not to mention that Lu Chang'an is obviously not mud. Let's forget about the romance. It's better to hit the sun than to choose another day. Let's do it now. Lu Chang'an raised his head and looked at the Bailong Center in front of him. Today is just right. We can just go find her. Her mother is here in Juncha, but she will attend a reception with my father tonight. She is free. Won't you two attend such an occasion? We're all old acquaintances. There's no need for any family socializing. I'm not interested in going. Zhu Huntang didn't carry his mobile phone with him most of the time. Qin Yinan called Zhongqing and found out that Zhongqing was with Mrs. Zhu San, so she and Lu Chang'an went directly to Bailong Center to find Zhu Huntang. I called Zhu Huntang on the way, but he didn't answer. Zhu Huntang is actually very cute. She is beautiful, has a good figure, and is not too old. She is just like you. The most important thing is that she likes reading as much as you do. At least you will like her library. Qin Yinan unconsciously, I took on the role of matchmaker, and good words came out of my mouth. I'm pretty sure I'll like her library, but does she like reading as much as I do? Lu Chang'an didn't believe it at all. He still had fresh memories of Jing Kai stabbing Prince Dan 3 times. He likes reading as much as Zhu Huntang. This is just to criticize people for being uneducated and incompetent. Yes, Qin Yinan showed Lu Chang'an's photos of Zhu Huntang on her mobile phone, looking forward to his reaction, and said, "Look, she is very good looking. Many of her photos are of her when she was reading, her assistant I helped her take the photo." Lu Chang'an felt that if Qin Yinan and Zhu Huntang were familiar with each other, then she should not describe Zhu Huntang in this way, but she said so. If she and Zhu Huntang were not familiar with each other, describing Zhu Huntang in this way was nonsense. All in all, Qin Yinan was always talking about Zhu Huntang. Irresponsibly pulling red strings, she said she would introduce them to each other. Of course, Her intention was to consolidate her stay out of the matter and let Lu Chang'an find another girlfriend. Lu Chang'an didn't care either. Women have little thoughts one after another. Arriving at the top floor of Bailong Center, Qin Yan'an asked Lu Chang'an to visit Zhuntang's library first. She had already seen that Lu Chang'an had no desire for luxurious material life and enjoyment, and his favorite things were completely different from those of most young people. Lu Chang'an saw some rare books in the library, which he had stored in Su Mei's home before liberation. They were probably taken to Taiwan and now brought back to the mainland by Zhu Huntang. Suzaikyo really loved Zhu Huntang. In addition, these magnificent treasures in human history are used as photo props for Zhu Huntang. Although they are all collected with professional collection specifications, they are still a waste after all. Of course, the most important thing is the content. There are too many interesting books that have been lost in human history. Seeing that Lu Chang'an was already flipping through the book, Qin Yan'an went upstairs to find Zhu Huntang. Zhu Huntang was lying in the swimming pool watching a movie, with a fruit plate and drinks floating in front of him, and a pink balloon tied to a string on his finger. "Look at my balloon. Zhongqing bought it for me. The price was 20 yuan, and she bought it for 5 yuan," Zhu Huntang said proudly towards Qin Yan'an. "I brought my cousin here." Of course Qin Yan'an has no interest in balloons. She is not a child anymore, and she doesn't like to pretend to be a child. Zhu Huntang only likes them. Out of politeness, should I leave the comfort of my heated swimming pool, dry my hair, change my clothes, put on a beautiful smile, sit in front of your cousin, and let him see if the beautiful fairy can replace him? The devilish cousin who is like the incarnation of lust. Zhu Huntang looked at Qin Yan'an and suddenly laughed. "How about we leave your cousin alone and quickly change into your swimsuit and come watch a movie with me? Qin Yan'an's figure is so beautiful. At present, I only have the opportunity to admire it often. I have admired it naked from beginning to end many times, but I still never get tired of it." Yes, it's necessary to be polite. Of course Qin Yan'an knew what she was thinking. Zhu Huntang was usually very fussy when they slept together. Even when he was in the same swimming pool with her, he had to lean into Qin Yan'an's arms. "Didn't your great-grandfather stop forcing you? There's no need for you to send me out for thunder." Zhu Huntang became serious and looked at Qin Yan'an strangely. "I'm still a fairy who hasn't grown up, so I'm not in a hurry to be introduced. Boyfriend, if you have the leisure to be a matchmaker, go find your boyfriend yourself. It's just to introduce you to each other, but you think too much." Qin Yan'an urged impatiently. "Hurry up, he is reading in your library, and you just don't read so many books. From now on, you two will get to know each other. Now, he can come to your place to read more books, and you can have more friends to play with. Is he fun?" "Quite fun." "That's not interesting. People who are funny are too witty. I like wooden heads who are not funny. It's fun when he collapses after being tortured and kneels down and calls the fairy for mercy." "Haha, you try." Qin Yan'an was very convinced that with Lu Chang'an's skill and mind, there was no telling who would toss who. "Forget it, I'll give you face." Zhu Huntang lazily climbed out of the swimming pool. He suddenly remembered the dolphin show he saw in the ocean park, and imitated the dolphins jumping to the shore and swung its body and plopped a few times. Then he stood up. Qin Yan'an just rolled her eyes at her. "Is there any fairy like a dying fish? By the way, what do you call your cousin?" "I can't follow you and call him cousin," Zhu Huntang said with a lack of interest. In fact, whether he is fun or not, Zhu Huntang is not interested. She now has her own the person you want to target with all your heart. Lu Chang'an. Is his mobile phone number 133XXXX0932? Zhu Huntang cleverly found the fastest way to confirm. Yes. As soon as Qin Yan'an finished speaking, she found that Zhu Huntang had disappeared in front of her eyes, leaving a series of happy footprints on the floor. "All kinds of requests, thank you for your generous rewards. I'm really immortal." Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 70. Qinyanan's fingers fiddled with the hair hanging on her face. Her beautiful face had soft lines in the night wind. She opened her mouth slightly and looked at Zhu Huntang's footprints. Why did Zhu Huntang run so fast? She just wore a bikini to meet Lu Chang'an? Qinyanan was a little puzzled, and then felt a little annoyed. She must have been fooled. Lu Chang'an and Zhu Huntang turned out to know each other. Qinyanan realized that there was certainly something wrong with Zhu Huntang running to see Lu Chang'an in such a hurry. She had never seen Zhu Huntang go to see someone else so eagerly. Most of the time, Zhu Huntang was very slow, such as Qinyanan and Zhu Juntang said that she would come to Junxia early, and Zhu Huntang also slept with her as usual. For example, she didn't always carry her phone with her, which meant that she had never considered what if others couldn't find her if they had something urgent. Such a person. Is it possible for people to run to meet each other happily after hearing a name? Is there any problem? Thinking about herself, there is nothing serious or urgent. Qinyanan is also used to maintaining the elegance and reserve of a girl. In this case, she often wipes her hair, puts on a towel and goes to the dressing room. Qinyanan quickly followed her. She wanted to find out how the two people met and why they had been pretending in front of her. Qinyanan found Zhu Huntang in the cloakroom. She was standing there motionless, letting the maid dry her body and find clothes to dress up. Fortunately, she had to run to Lu Chang'an in a bikini, but there was too much fishiness involved. Qinyanan looked at Zhu Huntang, and Zhu Huntang also looked at Qinyanan. What are you looking at? What are you looking at? How do you know my cousin? Qinyanan asked curiously. I won't tell you. Zhu Huntang held his chest and directed the servant. I want the underwear with the hairball on the butt. If you don't tell me, I won't ask him. Qinyanan squinted disdainfully at Zhu Huntang wearing the pair of panties that were in the name of pretending to be cute and fulfilled their sultry nature. If you ask him, he won't tell you. Zhu Huntang said with certainty that only fairies can discover the secrets of superpowers. He is my cousin. Why? Qinyanan felt that although Lu Chang'an did not show any special closeness to her, the relationship between the two families was unusual after all. You go and try it. Qinyanan glanced at Zhu Huntang dubiously, turned around and walked out to find Lu Chang'an. Although she wanted to introduce Zhu Huntang and Lu Chang'an to each other, it seemed that her purpose had been achieved, but Zhu Huntang's attitude was really confusing. Lu Chang'an is reading a book on the historical research of castration and castration. Castration is one of the 5 punishments in ancient China. This kind of punishment is not necessarily used to deal with some sexually violent criminals. The purpose is just to make them infertile, and infertile is a kind of personal insult, and some people in the United States advocate castrating some people with biologically inherited criminal genes out of eugenics considerations. How did you and Zhu Huntang meet? Qinyanan asked, glancing at the cover of the book Lu Chang'an was holding. Because she discovered my superpower. In other words, the person she was looking for a while ago, the so-called person related to the major secrets of mankind, was you. It's me. Then you two take your time and play. My mission is completed. Qinyanan turned around and walked out. This was the bastard looking at Meng Bin and making eye contact. I wish you will develop love, live in harmony, have good flowers and a full moon, have a happy love, and have a baby soon. When the time comes, my cousin will give you a huge red envelope. Qinyanan left with the most sincere blessings expressionlessly. Lu Chang'an read for a while, and Zhu Huntang finally changed his clothes and came to the library. Lend me this book. By the way, Nero's full name is Nero Claudius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, who is a very popular character in Fate/Extra. Grandfather. Zhu Huntang showed a cute look, ran over and hugged Lu Chang'an's arm, and put her cheek on his shoulder obediently. Are you Calabash Boy? Lu Chang'an was puzzled. After thinking about it, this was probably the possibility. Of course Zhu Huntang is not Calabash Baby, she just thinks she has discovered the truth. After acting coquettishly, Zhu Huntang let go of Lu Chang'an's arm, raised his chin slightly, and showed his wise expression as always. Since you are immortal, what does it matter if I call you Grandpa, Zhu Huntang said matter-of-factly. Based on this, you should call me Ancestor. Grandpa is more fluent. Whatever you want. Lu Chang'an had no objection. Because you are immortal, you always need to change your identity. Currently, one of your identities is Qin Yinan's cousin. But why did you become Qin Yinan's cousin? There may be practical reasons for getting involved with the Qin family, but you are not that kind of person, because I can't pay you, and you are trying to live under the wings of the Qin family. The possibility is very small. Go on. I'm thinking, maybe it's because your identity has been involved with the Qin family a long time ago. Lu Chang'an looked at Zhu Huntang with some surprise. The little fairy was very clear-headed today. A person with superpowers like the immortal naturally behaves in a mysterious style. So as long as you notice someone who has a connection with the Qin family's history and is extremely mysterious, it will be easy to apply his image to you. Zhu Huntang thought very carefully when he was in the cloakroom. It just so happens that there is a person who has a close relationship with the Qin family, a close relationship with Grandma Ye, and a close relationship with my great-grandmother. Not many people know about him. His real name, even Qin Yinan can't find any more traces of him in history. Such a person has mysterious characteristics. Why don't I suspect that you are him? If I didn't know that you have the ability to live forever, I would just think like Qin Yinan that you are the descendant of that mysterious man, but I just happen to know. Is this the reason why you call me Grandpa? Lu Chang'an said suddenly, but the point of the question is, then you shouldn't call me Grandpa Zheng. It's easier to call me Grandpa, of course. Zhu Huntang didn't like to imitate Calabash Baby and call him Grandpa as Lu Chang'an thought. Being smooth is the most important thing, and being smooth seems to be a very good reason. Lu Chang'an nodded. Genetic research shows that the more fragile a life is, the stronger its reproductive capacity is, because only by expanding the population can we avoid the possibility of easy genocide, and the longer the lifespan of an organism, the more its reproductive capacity is limited. Otherwise, if long-lived creatures still have super reproductive capabilities, natural resources will be quickly depleted and exhausted, and these long-lived creatures will have to reduce their reproduction or simply mutate into creatures with shortened lifespans. So it is very reasonable that immortal creatures, humans, are absolutely unable to give birth to offspring, and the true identity of your offspring can only be yourself. On the surface, immortality is inconsistent with the laws of nature, but if you add that immortality cannot produce offspring, it seems to be consistent with the laws of nature. Lu Chang'an showed some admiration to admire Zhu Huntang. Look, even if you think Jing Ke stabbed Prince Dan 3 times, it doesn't mean you are equally stupid in other areas. Grandpa, I am both witty and beautiful in any field, because I am a fairy, Zhu Huntang said proudly. I have a way to completely deny all your guesses. Lu Chang'an calmly watched as the pride on her face turned into doubt. I can deny it as long as I have a child with you. Ah, Zhu Huntang was startled. Because this is the simplest method. Lu Chang'an smiled. Is it true that all the fairies' enthusiasm and pursuit of the truth are just an entertainment mentality, and she is not willing to make any sacrifices? I can find many ways to prove it. Zhu Huntang realized that Zhongqing was not at home, and that he had dismissed the servants just now, and told them not to go near the library under any circumstances. How stupid it was. No need, I just prove that you think you are smart, but you are actually very stupid. Don't try to do self-righteous things with someone you can't control and figure out in the future. It's very dangerous. Lu Chang'an reached out and patted Zhu Juntang's head, said, "Gone. You don't want to have children with me anymore?" No. Of course Lu Chang'an has no such interest. In fact, Zhu Huntang is right about something. The ultimate goal of reproduction is inheritance, and he himself is the eternal inheritance. All kinds of requests will break out tomorrow, the reason is of course Uzi.